FUNDAY 响应5倍券政策，官网同步办理振兴方案5倍券好礼8倍送给你活动，方案额外加码赠送3个月与6个月，引发大批喜爱英语网友的订阅热潮。相关资讯请上 FUNDAY 英语教育网站查询。
On September 22nd, Taiwan filed an application for the Japan-led trade bloc CPTPP under the name Separate Customs Territory of Taiwan, Panhu, Kinmen, and Matsu, the same name under which we joined the World Trade Organization. If Taiwan has been left out of this agreement, our GDP will decrease by about 0.56%. But if Taiwan is included, our GDP will grow by about 2% more. As of September 25th, Norway ended all COVID-19 related restrictions, and it has classified COVID-19 as a generally dangerous disease only. Social distancing measures no longer exist, sports venues and restaurants can use their full capacity as before. Norway will also allow restriction-free travel from European nations and the United Kingdom. Ireland also plans to drop almost all COVID-19 restrictions by October 22nd. The US plans to reopen its airports to foreign travelers from November. All adult foreign nationals traveling to the US will be required to be fully vaccinated before boarding their flight. The US will accept full vaccination of travelers with any COVID-19 vaccine approved for emergency use by the World Health Organization. But the existing restrictions continue to apply to cross-border travel with Canada and Mexico.
Hello, I'm Wade Lee. Thank you for joining us on this week's FUNDAY News. Here are your top stories. Lately, the term CPTPP, which stands for Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for the Trans-Pacific Partnership, has become a popular term used in media reports. Taiwan applied to join this free trade agreement, with Japan welcoming Taiwan's application to the Trans-Pacific Trade Pact, and the U.S. State Department predicting Taiwan's strong embrace of democratic values would factor in the CPTPP's party's evaluation of Taiwan as a potential candidate for accession. Why is our involvement in this so important? And what can we gain from joining, or worse, what would we lose out on from not joining?
Basically, there are 4 major free trade areas by GDP in the world. The United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, also known as the North American Free Trade Agreement or NAFTA. Second, the European Single Market. Third, the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, also known as the RCEP. And the fourth, CPTPP, the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. According to Taiwan's National Development Council, if Taiwan has been left out of this agreement, our GDP will decrease by about 0.56%. But if Taiwan is included, our GDP growth would reach 2% more.
However, the importance of joining this international family cannot only be viewed through an economic lens. Its geopolitical influence on Taiwan is a higher factor to consider as it determines Taiwan's status in the international society. While Communist China has been posed as a threat to us for more than half a century, the latest change of the democratic nations around the globe has made room for Taiwan to stride in with dignity and officially as an independent economic and political entity. Being a part of the CPTPP, we'll have more opportunities to have mutual relationships with each member state, which is ultimately what we need.
Due to the importance of joining the agreement, on September 22nd, Taiwan filed an application for the Japan-led trade bloc under the name Separate Customs Territory of Taiwan, Panhu, Kinmen, and Matsu, the same name under which we joined the World Trade Organization. The next move of Taiwan would begin accession talks with all 11 CPTPP member states, seeking their support and learning about the issues that each member state is most concerned with. Economically, we'll have some gain and some loss, but politically we'll be welcomed by the countries with the same values and will fight against Communist China with companions. We won't be alone anymore.
Norway has ended all COVID-19 related restrictions starting September 25th. COVID-19 has been classified in Norway as a generally dangerous disease, but the official classification could change as seen based on necessity. Norway will no longer require businesses to implement social distancing measures, and it will also allow sports and culture venues as well as restaurants to run at full capacity. Nightclubs will also reopen under the new guidelines.
Norway's Prime Minister Erna Solberg said Norway will also allow restriction-free travel from European nations and the United Kingdom. Yet some restrictions will still apply to those arriving from countries considered to have a high rate of infections. In other parts of the world, officials in Australia say they will reopen the country's borders to international travel by Christmas at the latest. Meanwhile, the lockdown in Auckland, New Zealand has been lifted, although schools and offices must remain closed. And the Netherlands has lifted quarantine requirements for vaccinated U.S. travelers, and they're implementing vaccine passports. Ireland plans to drop almost all COVID-19 restrictions by October 22nd. Denmark has banned unvaccinated travelers from the United States, but lifted all remaining COVID-19 measures on September 10th. Starting November, foreign travelers will be allowed to fly into the U.S. All adult foreign nationals traveling to the U.S. will be required to be fully vaccinated before boarding their flight. U.S. citizens and permanent residents who are not fully vaccinated will still be able to fly to the U.S., but they will need to be tested within 24 hours of boarding a flight to the U.S., as well as undergo testing upon return to the country. Under the new rules, foreign travelers will need to demonstrate proof of vaccination before flying, obtain a negative COVID-19 test result within 3 days of traveling, and provide their contact information. They will not be required to quarantine. The CDC says the U.S. will accept full vaccination of travelers with any COVID-19 vaccine approved for emergency use by the World Health Organization, including those from Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson used in the U.S. Other vaccines are also approved by the WHO and used widely around the world, including from AstraZeneca and China's Sinovac. But the new rules do not apply to land borders, meaning that restrictions continue to apply to cross-border travel with Canada and Mexico.
And that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us on this week's FUNDAY News. Let's make every day a fun day. I am Wade Lee, your host, and I'll see you next time.